Uncle Phil and his Puerto Rican-looking commandos strike again here on Voyager, please. A heinous trip at Warp 5. My name is Joseph.
Here I am with another heap and helping of Star Trek podcast Hamburger Helper, making us get the most out of what we're able to afford this season.
We're stretching that pound of ground beef, my friend.
I'm your co-host, Peter.
You know, I will say this in defense of Hamburger Helper. You put a little barbecue sauce and mac and cheese.
Fuck that. Just hamburger, not even Hamburger Helper, whatever the hell Aldi's version is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we really ate it growing up. There's a lot of like food we didn't really encounter. I didn't have ramen until I was in college.
You see, my grandfather came back from World War II because he was in the Navy having spent some time in Japan, and he became very much a fan of ramen and brought back that love to the United States. And so when ramen came to the United States, the freeze-dried ramen, he was huge. Oh my God, I get to have ramen again.
Guys, we're going to get such high sodium. You're going to love it.
Yeah, so I was exposed to ramen from a young age thanks to my proto-weeb grandfather.
Yeah, but I never had Hamburger Helper growing up, and I love it. It's great.
It is. It's great. You know what's also great, aside from this episode of Star Trek?
For Star Trek.
We'll finish this great episode of Star Trek that we started and liked so much we talked about it for an hour before we looked up. But there's content our listeners crave, and that is our middle-aged man gaming habits. And Peter, in particular,
I just heard everybody out in the internet say
no. It's like watch time died 2 minutes in. In particular, though, I think your gaming journey it's truly a journey I'm glad we're all on together. Fill in the people. What have you been up to?
We've been pushing our daughter to read, not to make herself better, but so she can start playing some of these video games with us. And
that's good. That's good. Train him early.
I'll tell you, the biggest game we've been playing, because I can play with the family, it's called Party Animals. It released on Steam and Xbox. Look it up, man. I caught it on the winter Steam sale. I had my eye on it for a while. You can get away with 4 or 5 player. It'd be 4 player. Yeah, 4 player co-op on the couch, and it's 4v4 or 2v2v2v2, and your little super cute bipedal animals with big wobbly heads and great ragdoll physics, and you just wail on each other. There's headbutts, there's kicks. You can Superman punch people and knock them out. It's hilarious. There's weapons, and there's different game modes where the real appeal to me on this is that you can set the other team to just be all AI. And then when you've got 2-year-olds on your team, you can make it 2 easy AI and then 1 normal AI. So it's 3v4.
Yeah, even the odds a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've never given a shit about football before, but this ridiculous football mode they have, or one where there's candy factory and you have to grab the candy and run it to your side and pull a lever and it opens a door and people fall in and they're crushed. Some pretty brutal death things, but it's all cutesy. My kids love that and I love it too. So I've been playing a lot of that, mostly because Cyberpunk fucked up on a patch, the 2.1 patch, which was pretty substantial, cool stuff, but it removed the finisher kill animations for melee engagements, and I've been waiting for them to fix that.
Oh, how did they accidentally morph their animations they've had since the 1.0 of the game? Damn.
Every patch, fixes stuff the last patch broke and then breaks new stuff for the next patch. Even this 2.11 patch they put out, which was supposed to fix the kill animations, now I crash a desktop when I load. I think it's because I have something bound to my mouse button and I haven't had the time to unfuck it yet. We've also been playing Enshrouded, which is, do you know anything about that?
No, never heard of it.
Valheim, it's a 16-player co-op, but you run your own server.
Okay.
That's really been scratching this itch that we've had for like something kind of sky. It's like a mashup between like Skyrim and um, Breath of the Wild.
Good. Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for giving us the update. I didn't know if there was any like you finally got around to an SNES classic 30 years later or any of those,
No,
but
that's still on my to-do list. Which, yeah, I don't know why I haven't been playing that while I've been waiting for Skyrim to finish. I grabbed a bunch of VR games too. I'm trying to get back into that, and my VR fortitude has fallen off considerably. So, like, I'm getting motion sickness and having to like.
Gotta rebuild it. Yeah, it's like going to the gym.
It's a real muscle, and that's the other thing. I've been going to the gym, so I'm just like very sore and unhappy with life.
You know who's unhappy with life? That is the people who work at Ubisoft.
Ubisoft, yeah.
Yeah, a game you and I both enjoyed tremendously were both entries in the Neo Deus Ex saga. So not
That was
going.
an Ubisoft. That was
Eidos rather.
Eidos, yeah,
Yeah,
interactive.
sorry, not
Square,
Ubisoft,
right?
Eidos. And yeah, it was Eidos Montreal that saw, I guess, most of its staff get laid off, and they had been working on a Deus Ex game for a couple of years, and it got canceled.
We talked about that last one. I don't know if we talked about um
You and I talked at a
podcast or
minimum.
not.
We might have talked about it on an episode, but I do not remember.
I couldn't get into that last one. And it visually it looked great and all the makings were there for something that I should have really been able to get down on, and it felt hollow in a way that I can't really quantify. And I gave up on it. That's the first big AAA game that I've kind of just said, all right, this should be great. It's not clicking. I got to move on.
I liked the second one more, to be honest with you. I thought,
really?
yeah. I felt like the gameplay loop had been perfected, which made it more fun to play, and the ambiance was still there. The music's still amazing. It looked like $1 million. Big fan of both, played both into the dirt, but I think I'd take the second one as my favorite. I mean, the first one, the Human Revolution, is novel for just the fact that that's what invented this visual design they went with, right? Like,
yes, the visual design being triangles,
and everything is black and gold.
Yeah, it's aesthetic. And it's so funny because we watched the fight with Chakotay versus the chaos dream alien or whatever, and like when reality would like warp and all the triangles would jingle, and I'm like, is he going into Deus Ex? Is he going into old Detroit? What's going on here?
But the second game, I feel like it managed to do more with the whole premise of people who are augmented versus not, and like creating a whole like political drama there that
that's
scratches
funny,
my itch,
because that's what you and I were just talking about before we hit record, was this Peter Thiel guy
Yeah.
bankrolling Olympics with steroids. And
Yeah.
that's what I said. I want people with steroids. I want cyborgs. And if there's any aliens out there or dinosaurs, just like a real time crisis sporting event. Out of curiosity, when you're playing like Deus Ex or Cyberpunk or whatever, what's your go-to first round build? Pistols, magic, hacking, what?
I am very much a pistol stealth-ish kind of person. Like, I feel like a lot of these games do have a really strong like stealth option when you think about it, right? Like, and this is like a habit I guess I picked up just playing Metal Gear Solid back on the PlayStation era, and I've kept ever since. And playing Thief, and then playing even Deus Ex, the original Deus Ex. Stealth is often something pretty well developed in these games. It's pretty well rewarded, like above just guns blazing. And so
it has to be, if you're taking your design team and saying, hey, build all this sewer crap or ventilation, whatever, and make this a viable option in the game.
Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, another game with a stealth option and sewers.
What the fuck is this about Vampire? You can only play 4 clans off the jump.
Oh yeah, for Bloodlines 2.
And then there's gonna be another 3 is like DLC. Like, fuck that, man.
They gotta find a way to make up for all this money they spent with this game in dev hell for 87 million years. Like, how much
Fuck.
money did it cost them to go out and find a new developer to
The Chinese room.
just to finish this fucking thing? Like, that was so. That the fact that this game is going to be released. Let's set the stage, right? Just in case you don't know what I'm talking about. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines is one of those cult hit games, we'll call it. It was the first game ever released on the Source engine, actually before Half-Life 2, and
No,
was
they released the same day. It was done first,
it was done first. Okay,
but they had to sit. And I guess technically Counter-Strike would have been Counter-Strike Source.
and it was it had a very unique vibe. It captured the Vampire the Masquerade setting very well. Had a lot of voice acting, a lot of custom ability. You can play all the different clans, and they had really unique paths that you could kind of follow.
Same deal. If you want to be a stealthy guy, that's all developed. If you want to be a punchy first, talk never guy, that's there.
You want to be a blood magician, sucking people's a fucking vitae right out of their veins. You can do that. The Malkavian play path was super unique.
Yeah.
And it was also a game that was famously like semi unfinished. Like, it was finished. It had a beginning.
Fuck.
Yeah, but it was like not refined. And so it had a very strong fan following of people who like added cut content and like gave it a patch to make the resolution better and to fix the bugs and all that sort of thing. So it wasn't financially successful when initially released. The company that made it failed. It became financially successful as time went on and continued to sell and continued to sell. And whoever was the license holder for it noticed how much they were selling on Steam, like on a pretty constant basis, particularly when around Halloween or was on sale. They would just sell thousands of copies. So the idea finally came to someone of like, we should make a sequel. And it was Paradox who ultimately wound up holding all of the Vampire the Masquerade licensing. And so they, being a video game company, were able to put that into practice. But this fucking IP is cursed. This IP that I have loved for most of my life, that Peter and I know each other because of, it's fucking cursed.
The curse is the fan base. Spoiler.
The curse is the fan base, but also there seems to be some kind of like a Cain's curse, if you will, over the use of this IP in anything outside its native territory. All of its video games tend to be bad. Its attempt at going into other media doesn't work. Its television shows, we've noted, Kindred the Embraced was butchered. And sure enough, this thing has gone. I didn't think it would actually get released because the company that was doing the development, which was a subsidiary of Paradox that they bought, fucked it up so bad that it got canned with no set release date and they got fired. That shit does not happen. And they wound up, I assume, contracting with another company to try and pick up the pieces and put together a finished product that they can put out. And to the astonishment, I think, of most people, this game is evidently coming out this year, like soon, sometime this spring. And I am not convinced that it's actually going to be playable, right? Like, the proof of the pudding will be in the eating, in my opinion here. And I am not willing to be the one to take the first bite. I don't know who will. I don't know who is. But I'm going to wait to hear from other people before I will bother to spend a single red cent on that game. But if it's good, I'll play it for sure.
I'll play it regardless, man.
Okay.
I got brand loyalty on that specific thing. Anyways, I don't know. We're 14, 15 minutes in. This isn't a YouTube clip we're doing here, but
yeah, well,
the industry layoffs branching into entertainment, that's something we're going to have to talk about at some point.
Yeah. Maybe some other time. We did want to touch on the fact that video game companies seem to be shedding a third of their workforce right now.
Is there a quarterly reporting or something coming up? Because it just seems like people are losing their jobs just to boost profits to look good for some sort of report. Then they'll go back and rehire again.
I think it's a short answer. It's AI. AI is asserting itself in this industry. And you want to talk about a place where you probably have a lot of technical redundancies and probably a lot of administrative bloat that can go along with it. It's probably video games, right? Like, first of all, you've got a lot of lack of success. Like, perfect recent example, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. The game is fucking hot garbage.
Did you play it?
It's made. I've watched plenty of YouTube videos of people playing it to not want to.
Hmm.
It is a bland, turgid looter scooter that has the sophistication of people, that are like 15-year-old edgelords. And I don't, I don't understand who this product is for, or who is going to buy it. And so you've got that issue where a lot of titles, AAA titles, have just died immediately on launch. And then you also have AI likely automating a lot of functions that required humans before. And I think that's why you're seeing those layoffs.
Here's my hot take on this. And this is going to go for Hollywood adjacent live productions as well as video games. AI is going to make it easy to cut people loose indiscriminately, combined with just overall bad decision that you have people above the creatives forcing them into. Rocksteady game studio specifically, like all the people involved in making the Arkham stuff
Long
have
gone.
failed, and they've made their own new company called 100 Star whatever, right? I think that you're going to have the big companies just hemorrhage talent or legitimately fire their talent, and they're going to keep pumping out crap. The big IPs are going to be dead, right? Because they're going to become very easy to produce. They're going to turn into trash, and people go, oh, why isn't this Star Wars game selling or whatever? And I think you're going to have a lot of small studios start up where they've got hard and fast, no AI rules, and they're going to do things the old way. And you're going to have a really rock and cottage industry of small studio content come out.
Agreed. And video games is the industry that is the most agreeable to that kind of innovation, because if you've got a group of people that know what they're doing, you can distribute on almost every platform digitally.
Right.
So
and I think you're going to see that grow into like production studios and stuff too. So,
but we got a podcast to produce about what episode of Star Trek?
Hey, we're still here hanging out at old season 4, episode 15, Affliction. For those of us who might have forgotten over the past 18 minutes of video game talk, this one was Michael Sussman, Manny Cotto, Michael Grossman. We're talking about the Klingons. We're talking about the Augments. We're talking about Enterprise that just wanted to have a nice shore leave and enjoy the fact they saved the world. Nope. We're back out in it. Where do we leave off on our discussion?
So when we last talked about this episode, we were basically at the halfway point. We have a lot to say about just the premise here, the use of the augments, the rich continuity that we continue to just feast upon. And we're at the point where the Klingons are ambushing Enterprise after they've rolled up to the Rigelian freighter that got blown apart. And in this ambush, that is when it is finally revealed to the audience that these Klingons, quote unquote, look awful like Voltaire's Puerto Ricans dressed in gold lame. They look, in fact, just like humans, except perhaps with haven't been to the stylist in a while. Very long hair. And they are running some sort of game here on Enterprise. They're doing something to some kind of critical looking doohickey in the middle of the ship before just trying to bounce. The Makos, once again, these guys got nerfed so bad. But then again, they just keep having to fight Supermen all the time. It has to be tiring for them.
My headcanon is that they got the best of the best of the best, and that you were seeing the real cream of the crop there. And unfortunately, they all fell off a bridge down an endless chasm to the bottom of the Death Star. And none of these other replacement crews that have been able to come in can quite top.
Except for Mr. Business. Mr. Business, he's got potential.
This is the guy that told Shran's girlfriend no?
That is correct.
He
also knocked Shran out, right, with a single punch.
What if Mr. Business had said yes and went back and gave Shran's girlfriend the business? She might be alive this episode. She might never have been there, successfully overtaking the ship and getting shot by that catcher mitt motherfucker who I still don't understand why he didn't end up in the brig. While we're talking about giving people the business, one of our one of the members of our community had posed something in a chat that I believe is the new canon. We're going to go back to Mr. MVP Koss, right? To
Okay.
Paul's prearranged husband. And the notion that it wasn't just Time Zuck that was interacting with Starfleet or Proto Federation members, and that a member of future Time Federation that Time Zuck represented went to Koss and was like, listen, you need to be with her at all costs. And he's like, she doesn't like me. She's mean. It hurts my feelings that I don't acknowledge. And she's making me look like a fool. Like, no, it is you are the linchpin in making this future happen.
It's
'Cause
important to the history of the entire galaxy that you try and get that ass.
I'm
Okay.
catching up on our back catalog, and we're reviewing what's the one where she gets married?
Oh, the home.
That
Yeah.
and the one prior, like Koss does not seem into it at all. It tracks. I forget who said it, but you've created very important headcanon. Koss was contacted by agents of the future during the temporal Cold War.
He
And
knew that he was too good for her the entire time. He was doing it for the timeline.
yeah, this is bullshit. Her mom's a cultist. Why would I help her mom get her job back? This is ridiculous. Thank God he did, though. MVP guy.
Makos show up. They kind of get rolled, but they do take one Klingon guy down with a couple shots, and the rest of the not Klingons bounce, leave them behind, which of course allows us to have a very awkward scene in sickbay, which doesn't have Phlox in it, which is just something that has never happened. So I find it amusing that they may have wrote this without realizing that Phlox wasn't there, and then they just had to have some random extra who's in sickbay now doing, I guess, what are you, the backup doctor? Are you a nurse? We've never fucking seen you. All right, you do the techno things, and you don't have any lines, but you'll be doing the medical science while we main cast members have our dialogue and point at the screen and say, wait a second, this guy who's a human's not human. He's a Klingon. What the fuck is going on?
What are the scenes where they can't make things out? I've got in my notes that there's stuff going on where there's no universal translator that seems to be present.
Oh, in terms of like why this guy knows English?
No, there was some other portion where like the language became a barrier, but I was like, well, they've got universal translators. Why are they putting up this little show here?
Well, no. When they interrogate him down there initially, when he's speaking Klingon, I think Hoshi's there and just like translates live. But they've not had like that sort of like universal translator mobile kind of a device that's been introduced. There is a universal translator on the communications array for when they do ship to ship,
Right.
but not within the ship. So this Klingon being in sickbay requiring Hoshi to be present to translate, that actually is consistent in my opinion. Maybe do we have to have our Chadish like weigh in on this?
Are
we activating Jack?
It's been a week. I don't know what these fucking notes are in regards to. These are stale notes. Their confusion with what this Klingon is, and slowly deciphering, like, no, this guy has Klingon DNA. He looks radically different. He seems a little stronger. What's going on here? The bigger conversation to have is, as you kind of covered last episode, you took a limitation of 60s, 70s era cheap TV costuming, and then through the movies started kind of hashing out this new look for the Klingons that really made them alien, made them a little scary, and put some character in them. And by the time we get around to Next Generation, we know this is what Klingons are supposed to look for. And just in your mind, remember the Klingons looked like that. And instead of just having that be the way it was, I think it's a DS9 that touches on
DS9 made a joke about it. And
here's what we need to do. This is my proposal, right? We do a mess hall, okay, and we get the webcams, and maybe we can even Twitch stream this because it'll be a game. And you and I will get a Ouija board. We will summon the ghost of Manny Koto.
Manny, we require your guidance.
Manny, when you were figuring out season 4 and you were deciding that you're going to do this Affliction thing, did they write the entire Augment story arc specifically to set up the story becoming possible? Because it works so well that it is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of has that feel like I don't think you did this on accident. I think you had this idea and then you had this other idea and we're like, ooh, here we go.
Like a 50-50. Like they were like, hey, okay, here's this Augment. Let's get into the eugenics war, and hey, what if this genetic engineering like fucked up other people? And oh my gosh, hey, you might maybe tie this into the Klingons, or like they're sitting there to write Affliction. They're like, how do we explain this? Maybe there was a virus. What if they got Augment? What if Khan's DNA was in them? Hey, that's more story than we can do in a 2-part, or this is a 3-part arc, right?
Well, this is a 2-part arc.
2-parter. What if we make an entire 3-parter to explain this 2-parter? Well, that's great. Now we're already 5 episodes into our 20-episode season. If only we were thinking like this 4 seasons ago.
Oh, another member of our community pointed out to me, speaking of the ghost of Manny Koto, the intention with Shran was to have him be a main cast member in season 5.
Really?
Yeah. That he was going to be the first Andorian in Starfleet.
That, I hope, would like facilitate a story where Reed dies and they need a new tactical officer, maybe.
I saw no elaboration aside from apparently Manny Koto said this at some point, but just a quick follow up on our own discussion of like, oh, what would they have done with Shran in season 5?
Things to ask Manny Koto's ghost.
Yes. So you heard it here first, folks. We're gonna summon a ghost in a live stream and ask it questions about Trek. I'm sure Manny Koto's spirit will be pleased by being disturbed by 2 losers who are desperate to ask him questions about a TV show that failed.
Side note, if anybody would like to wear a sheet with eye holes cut into it for our live stream,
let us know. Hit us up. Drop a comment on our Discord.
How many viewers could we get with the title Star Trek Podcast Summons Ghost of Manny Koto with Ouija board? I think we could do pretty well for ourselves.
I'll put up numbers.
I'll tell you what, if I was Manny Koto too, I would just make the most wildest claims. In season 6, they were going to fight a Star Destroyer. That it was going to be
the doctor was going to show up. So when we're done kind of having I take it back. We're not quite done on Enterprise. So there's some clear sabotage that went on, and they're having difficulty getting the ship back to warp, and they're also identifying like whatever the Klingons did. They uploaded some kind of like fucking computer virus or something into the ship, and they've got to try to identify that danger has not yet fully developed at this point. Back on the Klingon colony is where we get Phlox in his crowning glory, because he is timely taking a look at this weird disease he's been asked to cure in no time flat. And then he comments and gets very angry when he notices, wait a damn second. I know these base pairs in the DNA in this fucking virus because I saw them 4 months ago, and it's augment DNA. What the fuck are you people up to?
10 out of 10 reveal.
Oh, yeah.
Absolute last thing that you would expect. Because, again, the story was supposed to be that there was Rigelian flu. Was that what it was?
Yes.
Which is funny. That was a they programmed the EMH with so he could have like bedside manner, like sympathy.
Yeah, they give him a bunch of diseases,
I
including that
love when
one.
they reuse goofy made up stuff. And that had, was it a weapon they were developing, or was it just what was the initial cover story?
It
That
was
was
just there was a pandemic, and they needed Phlox to help cure it.
so. All the cards now come out on the table that the Klingons had recovered sections of the bird of prey that the augments had stolen prior to what do we call that guy? Oh, Atom Smasher.
Yes.
Speaking of cyberpunk, that Atom Smasher had self-destructed being a complete bitch before beaming over to try and strangle his father and getting gunned down. And they could not be outdone and one-upped by the humans. So they have decided that they were going to try to incorporate the DNA. And I'm curious, and I guess you can't really flesh that out without actually getting Soong involved, but the DNA that they harvested, if that was OG augment DNA, or if this was DNA that Soong had further
Well, they said
edited.
they got it from the embryos, so it had to have been OG because he didn't get a chance to do much with the embryos because he got shuffled off the ship when he started to experiment with them. Remember, that was his big thing with Atom Smasher was like, I'm going to make them less aggressive. And he turned on them after that. So this is
You're probably right, but I think they're splitting hairs. There's a possibility it could have been stuff he already edited, whatever. But they got the DNA. They started trying to incorporate it. Now we see the full picture. Now we understand that this is and this further reinforces that genetic engineering is super dangerous. Maybe it's not just limited to, hey, humans can't handle this, but Denoblians can. Like Klingons, who are arguably smarter with a more
they have a more advanced civilization, clearly.
And they should have a more advanced science program too, even though that stuff's kind of, taking a back seat with the warrior uptick or whatever. But it starts running through, it starts fucking up Klingon stuff. Like genetic engineering is bad. Go back to our discussion about what happens in Strange New Worlds, where they just kind of whitewash all that and build
Painful
this.
every time I think about it. That's the fact that that's where they start season 2 just made me instantly aggro on the whole thing and how poorly they handled it. Because this, compare that to this, right? Like compare that shallow nonsense to the depth that we're getting in this fucking show on the topic. It's like night and day.
Everything that this touches, it destroys.
And Dr. Antak, the Klingon doctor, first, I like his attitude as well. Like Phlox is great. Phlox is just like I don't fucking care if you shoot me type of attitude. Like you fucking with some shit you shouldn't be fucking with. This is bullshit. You dragged me halfway across the galaxy to fix your fucking nonsense fuck up with this fucking thing you should never have touched. Love it. Antak's very defensive of like, what were you expecting? You had a bunch of genetic super soldiers. We're fucking Klingons. All right. Have you met my people? You think that they're going to let this shit slide? Absolutely not. This is really your fault. It was his attitude, which I kind of liked.
Phlox should have
Klingon
been like,
scientist of him. Like, hey, listen, you asked for this.
yeah.
And I think actually General Uncle Phil is
General.
there. He's like, yeah, what he said. Like, what were you expecting? And also the reason why it went bad was that it was working. And then apparently one of the test subjects had the flu and it mutated the flu and has caused this problem. Like
Augments really are just
daisies.
like this.
They basically Wuhan like biolab mistaked this. This is like some real fucking COVID shit.
Right. Or, it's got like this almost like a Borg angle, right? Like, hey, here's this lure of a advanced technology, but you cannot control this. It will vector, it will get out of control, and it will spread this plague that just brings ruin to it. Humans can't control it. Klingons can't control it. Phlox, I think, could have used a line on there somewhere like, I was just dealing with augments trying to kill my lover. When will this augment genetic engineering bullshit stop bringing ruin and death to people around me?
It's going to convince him to like maybe to know, but let's not stop doing the genetic engineering. It's not working out for anybody.
Hey, I want you to read this paper I just did. Not cool. Um, there's also a big reveal here as to why the Klingons actually have not approached the main medical organizations out there. It's not because it would look dishonorable or make them look bad that they can't figure out their own thing. It's, oh, by the way, we're trying to weaponize humanity's forbidden super weapons and we fucked up and now it is out of control. Like they're doing black ops stuff. This absolutely cannot become public knowledge.
So back on Enterprise, we have a couple revelations. One, T'Pol is like meditating in a white space in her mind, and then
She's
suddenly,
Matrix. She wants guns. More
and
guns.
suddenly Trip shows up while he's daydreaming on Columbia. So apparently, it's new lore, right? This is brand new, hot off the presses, right? Hot off the presses Vulcan lore. If you are a Vulcan and you fuck a human, you are stuck with them in your subconscious forever.
It's not in his subconscious though.
Kind of. It's like in that subactive part of the brain. Like she's trying to meditate, he's daydreaming, and suddenly they're like in this white space,
Yeah,
like
like
literally talking to each other.
this isn't a hallucination. Like she has sucked him into the Matrix loading screen.
And they are very nonchalant about the fact that this apparent psychic connection that is transcending space and time is occurring to the both of them.
So, anyways, Ruin Johnson sees this and he's like, "Oh my god, this is amazing!" When I go on to watch to write the new Star Wars garbage, I'm gonna have Rey and Kylo Ren. They're gonna do this, and it's gonna be even better.
And there's an amusing scene because, of course, T'Pol and Hoshi did a mind meld earlier so she could recover her memories of her assault. And then suddenly she's like, why did I have this weird dream about that had this romantic overtones about Commander Tucker? What's going on with that? Mind melds are weird. Anyway, doop a doop.
Again, I want Hoshi to be bitchy and catty. And I would like to think that she knows goddamn well why she's having these daydreams, and she's just specifically bringing that up to make T'Pol uncomfortable.
I mean, they have had a contentious work history in the past. There's been whole
Yeah.
episodes about it. So I can, if I can accept that Hoshi is Archer's ex-girlfriend, confirmed. I'm glad we have firmly come to that accord. I can also accept that she knew what the fuck she was saying there for sure.
Oh my god, who etched in the desk here? T'Pol plus Trip. Who could that have been? Oh my god.
The real drama they're investigating, though, is that the black box they recovered from the freighter had its data erased, and they find out that it was erased using a device on Enterprise, and in fact, it was Reed as the last person who touched it. And Reed is called into the ready room, and Archer confronts him with this information, and he just refuses to give up.
Well, first he lies.
Yeah, he lies,
and then he lies some more,
and then refuses to say anything else.
It's a great scene, and that is something I've said maybe all of 3 times regarding anything involving Reed.
Yeah, it's killing him. They do a good job of showing that without making it too much.
You know, you write down on a piece of paper what you're supposed to understand about Reed, and somewhere on there towards the top is going to be that this guy takes his enlistment as a sacred duty. This guy does not really have a social life. He is a business first guy. He has been very eager to lay his life down on the behalf of the ship many, many times. So now being put into this position where he's said to compromise his own integrity and lie to his commanding officer while they're trying to, do really important shit, find Phlox, stop a Klingon human war or whatever. And he's got to lie point blank to Archer. And Archer, there could have been some fun dialogue there about like, gee, I wish I would have kept Hayes instead of you after all, or who would have known that Hayes would have been the better, just something like cutting like that or whatever, right? Because Reed was afraid of losing his position to someone else, and here he is basically destroying his entire career and his nightmares coming true.
I mean, on one hand, I understand why they don't really explain what this organization is. Why, there's a total unexplored part of this plot of how the fuck is Reed involved with these people and why is he so dedicated to serving them and their secrecy that he would betray a man he obviously has tremendous respect for in the form of his captain and really Starfleet as a whole. And I understand why you don't say that because that's part of the mystery, right? Like, oh my God, right? If you're the viewer, like, what the fuck is this that he's doing this? But I needed a little, okay? I don't need it all. I need something from Reed of like, you don't understand, like, the it's like there was like some sort of favor that was done, maybe like something for his dad, like he's got a contentious relationship with his father and there's something that he was able to accomplish on his behalf or for him or save his life through something that section 31 had availability to, and now he's kind of like an indentured servant. Like, just give me a taste of the backstory.
Go ahead and write that down on the list of things to ask Manny Koto's ghost.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, we'll put that on number 3. Yeah. I think we're doing this.
There was going to be an entire B plot of an episode in season 5 where they were going to do flashback episodes.
Obviously.
T'Pol was going to start a conversation with Reed about the, her traumatic experiences in Vulcan security services, being an assassin, and then he was going to flashback. Is this the most we get of Section 31 in Enterprise?
No. There's more.
That's disappointing, because if this is all we got, I would say that this is exactly as much as there should be in terms of, like, it's not named Section 31. It's just a guy who should not be wearing a tight leather uniform, and Reed having some sort of nebulous association of who knows why it must really be. And that's what you can infer, right? You know what Reed's about. Reed is a ship first, duty first guy. And for him to betray Archer and lie to his face point blank, it has to be overwhelming circumstances to force his loyalty away. And again, with Star Trek, sometimes the best story out there is the one that you don't actually explain to the viewer, and you just let them wonder on their own. But the end result, in
space jail,
tossed in by the Makos too. The ship's smallest space jail. They must have been retrofitted. Like, this brig's too big. What if we take one brig and make 3 brigs out of it?
So he's in tiny space jail. Back on the Klingon colony, General Uncle Phil, not having it with Phlox's pace of curing the disease. Phlox fires back, why didn't you fucking kidnap Eric Soon then? And they said, we tried.
The best.
Like, why didn't you get Dr. Rick Sanchez instead? Get his fucking ass out here. Why'd you fucking get me? I'm like, well, he had too many guards.
Go ahead and put on the Manny Koto ghost list if he had any plans to make Rick Sanchez a permanent member of the crew as well. Oh God, give me that bridge crew.
Oh yeah,
give me Archer to Paul. I'll keep around Reed. No, not what am I saying? Archer to Paul. Give me the Starfleet resuscitation protocol on Hayes. Give me zombie Hayes.
No, true dream team. Archer, captain. To Paul, true first officer. Give her a station for being first officer.
Give her a uniform.
Give her a uniform. Dr. Soong, science officer. Shran, tactical officer.
Yeah.
And then Mayweather's still at the bridge. Got to keep it real.
He's earned his place as one of the greatest helmsmen just for that fucking torpedo spear attack.
I mean,
in Picard season 3, when Picard has to, slingshot his way around, like, oh God, look at, that's impressive. But I mean, really, the true defining characteristic of a great helmsman is a undeniable offensive line, right? Like,
when they were talking, remember the Lower Decks crossover episode of Strange New Worlds, and Ortega's is like talking about how great Mayweather is. That's when they should have done it. Like, the dude was jacked. He just like whooped on everyone that worked by his station.
Oh yeah, hey,
what a missed opportunity.
All right, so I'm sorry. Archer captain to Paul first officer, put her in a uniform. Um, Soon gets to be the new civilian consultant that's wearing tight velour jumpsuits
There
with
you go. Oh yeah,
without
just like
command stuff.
and really like enhancing the dingus. You know,
Give him some of Troy's velour low cuts too. That would be very yeah. There you go. That's all you got to do.
full circle. Yeah.
Um, was there anybody else great that you know what? Let's somehow find a reason to bring Dr. Pellin on this because I still feel like she needs justice.
Short trip. That Vidian love story just needs to be concluded somehow.
She'll pick back up with Sungchez. Um, I love them bringing, just bring this guy in. We tried. So good. My wife, and this is what I meant to open this episode with. I didn't see the note till just now. She goes to me because she's got her friends online, and she comes to me with her phone in her hand. I know that she's going to ask me a question that they're talking about in this Discord channel. She said, "What's your favorite Star Trek quote?"
What a question.
People are talking about. It's a question I've never considered in my life before. And I'm just a deer in headlights. And I'm like, what is a good Star Trek quote at this point? Is it something serious and profound, some Picard level shit? Is it something ridiculous? I'm like, I put 2 hours of my life into thinking about and talking about Star Trek every week. The things that I find to be great quotes. Finally, I had to like sit there and like, I'm racking my she's like, everybody else knew what theirs was off the top of the bat. I'm like,
I do
because
too, by the way.
Well, the one I had to finally fucking settle on was whatever that one was in when Kim asks why people are angry at them in the Delta Quadrant and attacking them. It was such a preposterous, stupid
Twisted,
fucking
yes.
thing. That was that Twisted?
It was.
That
Why
it
would anyone be angry with us?
was such an ironic moment of bad writing that like that's the one that rung true on me. What's yours?
It is possible to commit no errors and still lose. That is not failure, it is life.
Yeah,
It's just the best Trek quote for life, period.
yeah. But that's that's playing it straight. That's not necessarily.
That's true. That's my play it straight one. That is not my funny quote.
I think this is going to be something we need to take to the audience. I think they're going to be able to come up with some real good ones.
Oh, absolutely. So if you, yeah, I actually would have to think about like what's my favorite like quote for comedic purposes that's very identifiably Star Trek. That would take me some time to consider. I'm initially like I would look towards probably Bride of Chaotica when like Tom is explaining the premise of the story to Janeway, and Janeway says, "So this Dr. Chaotica is trying to conquer the world," and he goes, "Yes, with his minions of evil," and it's just like hangs there for a second, and Janeway just kind of like stares at him and just sighs. Like to me, that makes that moment made that entire episode. But
I'm amazed that you're able to pull that quote and remember that it was Twisted.
Oh yeah, because they were. I even remember the scene. They're in Tom Skeevy fucked in on the holodeck, and they're all sitting around trying to figure out if anyone had attacked them because they can't talk to anybody. And they're like, well, someone could have attacked us. Like Tuvok says that. And he goes, why? Why would anyone attack us? And it's just like, it was such a dingleberry thing to say. And the like, he's like sitting at a table, like he's like the big kids table for the first time with all the senior officers as they're trying to figure out what's going on. He's not even supposed to be there. Like he like excused himself to go to the party.
That question almost makes me want to go through all my notes with a highlighter and like highlight the direct quote. Because like there's been so many good quotes too that we've come across. And I've just been amazed that they never show up in the memorable quotes on Wikipedia or Memory Alpha. And like maybe we should just go back or I should go in there and actually edit those. It'll be me and who was it? Mike Sussman? Is he the one that it goes in and
Yes, it was.
Explains his own actions.
Goes into Memory Alpha and edits it himself so to make sure the rest of the world knows it's not his fault. What's not his fault is the failure of the engines on Columbia, because they're not failing anymore because Trip's doing his job. He's a good job doer. He's maybe running off some people. There was a scene where he's having dinner with Hernandez, and you know he's a hard driver. Ensign Rivers. He's taking it, coming and going, but he wants to just be professional and have colleagues and not have friends. He's trying to work his way past the fact that he's still in love with T'Pol, and now apparently has a psychic connection that doesn't again get mentioned in this entire episode. And he gets the warp drive working, and the Columbia is able to warp out of space dock. So there are
And
now
also
two.
give seizures to everybody on the bridge because of those god awful light tubes.
Yes, the random pillar light tubes that will only be an impediment. That's the real enhancement for the NX-02.
Here is a conversation I need to see, or I would like to see. And maybe we'll have to put this on if this was going to be, we'll ask Manny if this was going to be in season 5 too. A discussion somewhere at upper levels that we are privy to, whether it's Starfleet Admiralty or something else. Because what you're seeing on the Columbia is a turning point akin to the Battle of Wolf 359. It is the idea of Starfleet as an exploratory body having to face the realization that this cannot be a joyful hobby, right? Trip has been out in deep space for 4 years. They went through the Xindi conflict and all this other shit. And whatever Archer was able to say in Home to Hernandez about how scary and bad space is, about the need for Mako soldiers and all that other stuff, part of that also has to be, listen, we're not alone out there, and people want to fuck us up. Not only are people trying to come here with space lasers to blow us up, they're trying to go back in time, and Sarah and like John Connor, Sarah Connor, they're trying to kill our moms, right?
Right.
You cannot have the spaceship sitting in fucking space dock and have a bunch of candy asses who are they're going to get so bent out of shape when I come in here and start cracking the whip that they're trying to run away from like stern talking to.
Yeah, like
And
space ain't for you then, Chief. You ain't got the onions.
that, or if that is just the temperament of Starfleet as a whole, there's big fucking problems. You've only got one ship that can address threats. Your entire organization needs to change, suck it up, and start burning the fuel at both ends. Tie that back earlier, like humanity was very dangerous and bad in World War III, allegedly. And then humanity nuked itself back into the Dark Ages, Zephyr Cochrane, then Vulcans make contact, and somehow all the bad, mean, nasty people go away, and you are able to have this post-scarcity utopia come back in. And right now, it's a weakness. It's a very weak area, and there's a lack of commitment outside of Enterprise.
No one else
And
has experienced the horrors yet. How can they know?
and they can know by having veterans coming back and start spreading the word, like, it's time to stop fucking around, grow a pair of balls, and get these fucking ships out there. We need them.
So eventually Archer goes to talk to Reed in the brig. Says, like, I'm following these guys into Klingon space, which is bad. This has never been fun. What the fuck do you know? And he still won't tell him. He's dying with every denial. Still won't tell him.
Mm-hmm.
But he does reveal when he talks to the Klingon captive that he is aware of what's going on, because he says he has the same goal, which is to find a cure. So we know Reed knows that these guys have been infected with a virus and that they are sick, and not merely just augmented supermen. And all of this is in service of the idea of stopping this from happening. But the kind of like where the taking time bomb they put at the end of this episode is actually quite fascinating. The virus that is infected Enterprise kicks in, and what it does is turn the NX-01 into speed.
That's what I got. Speed
I mean, obviously, right? Like,
yeah.
it makes it so that the matter antimatter containment, whatever, intermix chamber is going full bore, and you can't shut it down without blowing the warp core. So the only thing you can do is go as fast as possible, because it's basically the juice is being pumped into the engine at full go. And so you just gotta pour it on. You gotta use that energy up, or it's gonna blow you up. And so they're going warp 5.2, which is about as fast as I think they've ever gone.
More importantly, they're going that fast without their real chief engineer, because this other guy, whoever Timmy
Colby,
is,
who's not in good odor,
who can't even fucking like answer the phone when it's ringing. This guy is not. He does not have the stuff. I need I don't need throwaway. I need a dialogue line next episode where they're like, maybe for the next ship we like make a warp core eject feature.
Maybe we should get this thing out of here when it's bad.
Yeah, what
gonna kill us.
Put this on the Manny list. Were they going to introduce ejectable warp cores in season 5?
I mean, this goes back to that excellent episode when Phlox has to stay, like, the rest of the crew has to be asleep because of whatever cloud they're going through in the Zindi world, in the Expanse. And
was that called One?
No, it's the good version with Phlox. And you have that quick scene of the ghost of Trip talking about how difficult warp engineering is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like really like you have to do theoretical physics on the fly all the time. like well, apparently there's a downside to this complexity that can just turn it into Keanu Reeves' best movie.
Maybe next episode they'll have to like augment the virus, so instead of speed it becomes more Tokyo Drift. Who knows?
You will be shocked how close you are. What's the next episode?
We're going to be going into Divergence. This is going to be season 4, episode 16. Uh-oh. I see Archer. He's got some ridges on his head. With Columbia's help, the Enterprise crew grapples with sabotage to their ship as they pursue the truth behind the kidnapping of Phlox. You know what? Back to my wondering. I think it would be a cool plot arc if this Klingon virus really gets good traction. If these Klingon super soldiers wrestle control of the Empire away and start doing their own agenda, and you have like basically history repeating itself that like augments dethrone the powers that be, and like
I think you're gonna love how this winds up. It's like you're like Babe Ruth of Star Trek predictions. You just like that's the way it's going today.
I see. Listen,
you see the code.
I've always seen the good story that can be, and just normally it's things that don't come to go, but Manny Koto,
rare opportunity of like this would be the good story. It's like, well, someone else had that idea too, wouldn't you know it? This time our rewrites actually happened. Yeah, but we're gonna do some. There was a point in this episode where Phlox actually like comes to the conclusion that you could stabilize the augment virus rather than cure it, but he refuses to do so and like gets carried away. So they did kind of set that up a little bit. And yeah, this is going to be Too Fast, Too Furious with Columbia first. We're going to do some space Tokyo drifting, and then we'll go ahead and finish off the rest of the plot.
Please tell me that the Columbia's helmsman is Paul Walker. He jumps Columbia.
Talk about rest. We'll add his ghost after Manny Koto to consult. Just as in the same way,
Koto's ghost, yes or no? Was Paul Walker going to be in season 5 of Enterprise?
Obviously, the answer will be yes. Mm. Just like we will summon all of you to our next episode next week, which may or may not include a Ouija board. Thank you so much for listening.